Hey guys, it's Jason, the lead safety and technical trainer with Tyndale. Welcome back for another installment of 70E Made Easy. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important steps to keep you safe, which is Article 130.4. This is the electric shock risk assessment, and it's crucial that you understand how to complete this for every task that has a potential risk involved. This risk assessment has to determine if any electrical part will be energized during any part of the task. There are many questions that need to be answered before you proceed. Some of these listed in the 70E are: is this work justified? What are all of the hazards present? What are the risks for other employees? What specific involvement will the employees have? Are they qualified or are they not qualified? How are you going to keep safe while performing this task? These are just a few of the questions that you need to answer, and your site will determine what you need to address specifically. So let's start with 130.4a, which says that we need to do this for 3 reasons. Number 1, we need to identify the electric shock hazards. Are there exposed shiny parts? Is the voltage level high or low, etc.? There's a lot of things that you need to take into account. Number 2, the estimate of the likelihood of occurrence of injury as well as the severity. How close are you to the hazard? Closer increases the hazard, right? If you're further away from shiny parts, it's less of a hazard. Finally, number 3 is to determine if there's any additional protective steps that are needed. Do you need shock PPE? Do you need insulated tools, etc.? So now that you've determined that there is in fact an electric shock hazard, then you need to move to 130.4b, which is the estimate of the likelihood and severity. The estimate of likelihood of occurrence of injury or damage to health and the potential severity of that injury or damage to health shall take into consideration all of the following things. Number 1, the design of the equipment. For example, are there energized parts exposed? Does it require you to get within the restricted approach boundary, which we're going to talk about? Number 2, the operating condition and condition of maintenance. We've talked a little bit about this with the 70B and the condition of maintenance and how important that is. So is the equipment old? Is it dirty? Is it greasy? Is it in a washdown area? Has it been maintained, right? All those things are very important questions when assessing the risk that you may face while working on or around equipment that has or could have exposed energized parts at or above 50 volts. So now that you've identified the hazard and estimated the potential health risk, you are ready to move on to 130.4c, which is the 3rd thing on that list. And this tells us that if there's additional protective measures are required, they shall be selected and implemented according to that hierarchy of risk control. We looked at that triangle way back when, and you're going to go through that. So that's identified on the table we looked at in 110.3H3. When the additional protective measures do include the use of PPE, you need to know a few things, right? Number 1, you have to know the voltage level, because that's how we size the PPE, right? Those shock gloves are sized for voltage level that you're working on or around. This is very important, right? Also, tools, boundary distances, they're all based on voltage level. So you need to understand those very clearly. Number 2 are the boundary requirements. I'm going to get deep in those in the next few videos, so I'm not going to cover them too much here, but you're going to have those shock boundaries restricted and limited. And again, we're going to go in those in great detail, so stay tuned for that. Number 3 is the personal and other protective equipment required by the standard to protect you against the electric shock hazard. Some examples might be your PPE, insulated tools, physical barricades, or even possibly a contact release hook. Those are all different types of tools there. Finally, in 130.4d, tells that this process shall be documented. Again, OSHA, they don't care what you say, they care about what you have documented and signed off on. So you need to be very thorough with that. We've covered that in previous videos. That's going to do it for this video. Tune in next time when we break down shock protection boundaries. That's going to be your restricted and your limited. And those are very important that you understand those, and probably one of the most misunderstood things in the 70E. So hopefully it'll clear up some confusion. I appreciate you watching. Stay safe out there.